the blueprint. Study my movement, more than the 2 cents. Was losing, now I'm oozing with success. Now I got the tools to beat the stress. I lose cause I'm a step ahead of you.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today we're going to be talking about Raw, Monday Night Raw from June 13th, 2022. A very, in ring, it was a decent to good show. As far as angles, stories, or whatever, very light on that. Probably because of the NBA Finals, which was on ESPN tonight. So they figured they're going to get slaughtered by the NBA Finals. So there's no point in putting anything that was too good, too must-see on this show. And which is kind of counterintuitive, you would think. You would think if the NBA Finals is on, you want to do something big in order to get, at least to retain your audience. But they've kind of just accepted that you're going to lose in that third hour. They usually say lose in the third hour anyway. So they just kind of accepted that third hour is dead weight. So they're going to do anything that matters. They're going to do it within the first 2 hours. And it shows. It often shows. But let's get into news and notes. First news and note. Apparently Paige wanted to stay in WWE. She has announced that her contract will be expiring on July the 7th. I think she said July the 7th. And she will not be re-signed. Apparently, Paige had pitched a whole bunch of ideas over the last several years, maybe being a manager, returning as the general manager of SmackDown or Raw. She wanted to manage Ronda Rousey, which I can see why they shot that down. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. Why would she be the manager of Ronda Rousey? I know Ronda Rousey needs a manager, but why would it be her? It should be Paul Heyman. You know, that seems to work. You know, so. I see it. She also still wants to wrestle, but WWE won't let her wrestle for obvious reasons. Again, women are different than men. So who knows? But it was interesting to hear her talk about the ideas that she had. And to hear that, she was kind of disappointed that they're letting her contract run out because she wanted to stay. But they just couldn't find anything for her to do. And she doesn't hold it against them, but she wanted to stay. And I thought that was very interesting. Maybe she'll go out there, prove that she can still wrestle, and then turn around and come back. Maybe. I think that'll be an interesting. Maybe that's what they're tempting her with. Like, hey, if you think you can wrestle, go try it out. And we'll see. She's still young enough that if she can go and wrestle somewhere else for 2 years or something like that, 2 or 3 years, and then turn around and come back, it may still work out. All right. So while we're in the Paige side of business, let's talk about Alberto Del Rio, her ex-boyfriend, fiance, or whatever, who apparently wants to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. And he's been talking about this and basically talking about all his accolades and how he wants to be hold up the Mexican flag at the Hall of Fame. And if you look at his accolades, Del Rio is a Hall of Fame wrestler. He's been a multiple-time world champion, won the Money in the Bank, he won the Royal Rumble. He got a very big push. He was a strong babyface until he decided to Dolph Ziggler him. I just think that his track record outside the ring has just been so nasty and so screwed up that if it does happen, it probably won't happen for 25 years or something like that. I mean, he is, I guess you could say, like a modern day Lex Luger in that regard. Well, Lex Luger should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame, but no one's going to forget all of Lex Luger's outside the ring crap in order to overlook it, in order to put him in the Hall of Fame. Now, if he were to be put into the Hall of Fame, he would be the first, I think, Mexican born. Outside of the legacy wing, he would be the first Mexican-born inducted into the Hall of Fame. Eddie Guerrero was born in the United States. And when Rey Mysterio goes into the Hall of Fame, he was also born in the United States. Pedro Morales is Puerto Rican. So is Carlos Colon. So they're not Mexicans. So I think he'll be the first. Oh, Mil Mascaras. So never mind. Mil Mascaras. I think they also. Is Blue Demon in the Hall of Fame yet? Oh, him and that'd be Legacy Wing, wouldn't it? Blue Demon and El Santo. That'll be Legacy Wing. But yeah, they put in Mil Mascaras several years ago, so he wouldn't even be that. So there really is no reason to put him in the Hall of Fame now. And I think about it, I was like, wait a minute, Mil Mascaras is still alive, and no doubt they put him in the Hall of Fame already. So yeah, Mil Mascaras is the firstborn Mexican, not WWE champion. I think Del Rio is the firstborn Mexican-born WWE champion. It's just unfortunate that he's also, a shithead. So they're not really they don't really want to do business with this guy. He's going to need some serious years behind him before they even consider it. But right now, the moment you mention Del Rio, people just think, oh, he's going to kidnap somebody's kid and throw him in the middle of the street, or he beat up Paige, or any of the other embarrassing things that he done or said in the years since he's been gone. It's not like he left and his legacy aged gracefully. It's no, people still just kind of he was there, he was there. Nobody was, I was one of the few people, this is back when I was a work rate guy, who was a big fan of Del Rio. Cause I was his work was really good. And I still find his work to be really good. I liked his work in TNA too. It's just that from a character perspective, he didn't really have it fully together. And then, and it wasn't perfect. And of course his promos weren't great. And that's a big difference in WWE is, what great promos do you have? Sure, there were some good matches, but what great promos, what great segments when you were a part of? And he didn't have too much of that. So is Del Rio a Hall of Famer? Looking at on paper, yes. Will he actually be in? Probably not. And no time soon. They'll have to get really desperate to put Del Rio in the Hall of Fame. Right now they're at the point where they wouldn't call Del Rio to make an appearance on TV, let alone get put in the Hall of Fame. But it's what he wants, and I guess he's starting a campaign for it. But he can fuck right on off, because that's not about to happen. All right, so that's seemingly it for the news and notes. Let's go into the show. We start the show with Miz TV featuring Paul Heyman. Miz is talking Money in the Bank and touting his own Money in the Bank success. And Heyman said that he doesn't care what the odds are in the past and what the percentages are in the past. The percentages when Roman Reigns is the champion is 0. And that the Money in the Bank winner will fail against Roman Reigns. This, of course, incorrect, because Sheamus cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase the moment Roman won the title in 2016. And Sheamus took the belt from Roman. So it's not 0. But WWE, there you go, with not doing, and also, well, no, because Brock was the champion when Roman got beat at WrestleMania. But he also lost that match, so at least 2 cash-ins, Money in the Bank cash-ins have happened on Roman. So, it was WWE smudging history once more. Anyway, Riddle came out there, called Heyman a horse's ass, says that these guys don't know him and don't know what he's capable of, and that Roman's going to have to kill him to stop him from winning the title. So Heyman, who was talking before Riddle came out there, was saying that he went to Adam Pearce and got a stipulation put on this match, and Riddle had interrupted before he really got a chance to explain what this stipulation was. So now the special stipulation is, if Riddle wins, he's the champion, but if he loses, he can never challenge for the championship again. I think he said the Universal Championship, so that may be some linguistic play right there. As they'll likely change the name of the title or something like that, and he'll be able to challenge for it again. Interestingly enough, Paul Heyman said that he doesn't believe that Riddle is even qualified to beat his opponent tonight, who ended up being Tommaso Ciampa. In other words, just Champa. But Heyman he stopped short of really saying Ciampa's name. He didn't even say his name. He just said, I don't think you can beat your opponent tonight. So Ciampa and Riddle went in there and they had a really good match. But Ciampa got no entrance, and he got a lot of offense though. He got a lot of offense. His stuff looks good. His stuff was intense. He did not interact with the crowd at all. And it seemed like he seemed like a machine. Riddle was in there with a Terminator. Ciampa was just constantly working. It's almost Benoit-ish, how the crowd almost did exist. And you would look at, Ciampa, he usually do stuff like, pat himself on the back on the ring apron, that kind of stuff. All of that was gone. He was almost like a non-entity in this match. No doubt this is what he was told to do. You know, I'm pretty sure he was told to be that way. In order to get the crowd really behind Riddle. And that was smart because the crowd did get really behind Riddle. Because Ciampa's stuff looks good. He's stiff. And like the chops and stuff like that was really good. But it was clear that Ciampa was being de-emphasized here. Not only by having no entrance, but also not having to not interacting with the crowd at all. So it seems to me that Riddle, of course, won the match with the RKO, of course. The thing for me is that it seems like Ciampa is going to occupy the Cesaro spot. He's good enough to keep around despite his age. Incredibly talented guy. You could put him babyface or heel. But he's not marketable enough for you to push. So he's just going to be a guy on the roster until they find something to do with him, which is probably put him in an oddball tag team with somebody where he could do comedy and shit like that. Which is, I'm telling you, that's probably what's going to happen. They're going to find some poor schmuck wrestler, and they're going to want to get that guy over, and they're going to put him in a tag team with Ciampa, and Ciampa's going to be the straight man in this tag team. It's going to be stupid. Either that, or he's just going to continue doing this, which is bouncing back and forth between middling matches on Raw and main event, which, you know, seems to be quite a few guys' spot. Anyway, Riddle wins the match, so he's going to go into his match with Roman with momentum. Smart booking. Ciampa didn't look like shit. He didn't get, you know, completely and totally jobbed out. He actually got in there. He got some heat. He got over on Riddle. And Riddle, he just lost. You know, Riddle was good, was better. So I'm not complaining about that match. I just think that it's weird that Ciampa was so de-emphasized. Jimmy Uso defeated Montez Ford. Montez Ford loses because he got his knees up during the frog splash, which kind of makes sense. You know, it's kind of a cliche finish for Montez Ford. Like, he's lost countless matches because of the knees up from the frog splash, which you would think, like, hey, you should be used to it by now if your finisher is the frog splash. At the same time, though, it makes sense. You know, like, he gets such height on the frog splash that it will actually hurt him more to land on your knees. But this match really showed off how good he really is. It also showed off Jimmy Uso a little bit. The suplex on the ring apron by Jimmy. So it was an okay match. Surprised and definitely dismayed by, again, heels winning clean. WWE, man, heels winning clean. And it seems like this is the direction they're going in with the Street Profits, that they're going to go with the Street Profits and the Usos, which is fine. But I don't think I need to see every iteration of singles match in order before we get there. You know, they can cut promos at each other at some point. They can do angles against each other. I mean, whatever happened to some of the older school angles where guys would attack each other backstage or, you know, or something like that. And that could be their interaction for the week. Maybe they just yell at each other for a few minutes and that's it. You know, like, we don't, the constant contact where everybody must fight every week just doesn't seem to make sense to me, and it doesn't build up anticipation to watch these people fight again, you know? And I remember watching a lot of World Class, and it was like that between the Von Erichs and the Freebirds, where it seemed like they were fighting every single week. There was some iteration of the Von Erichs versus the Freebirds, either a one-on-one match, a tag team match, a six-man tag, or then they throw all the gimmicks in there, like the hair versus hair or something like that. It's just like, it felt like it was constant, you know, with those guys. And it was almost always going the same way, with the Von Erichs winning by count out, by disqualification, or pinfall, or something like that. Which, of course, makes sense for the territory. But that sort of booking philosophy has permeated, you know, WWE especially over the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, that we're just going to keep having rematches. Keep having rematches and the constant contact between performers and stuff like that. It just makes no sense to me. You know, in every story, you have a certain amount of clashes between the heroes and the villains. They just don't clash that often. You know, you have to put the villain out on doing something else so that the hero can, when they do meet up again and they clash again, you know, and instead of the constant, battle back and forth. It's like, that's not even how real wars are fought. You don't literally fight every single day. The danger is you don't know when the fight is coming. That's the real looming danger, the real looming threat of it. But this has kind of been a WWE thing for a long time, and complaining about it now just seems to make no sense. Seth Rollins, he cut a sit-down promo with Long Face. What is his name? Irish guy. Kevin Patrick. Or was it Colin Patrick? I don't know what his name is. It doesn't matter. All right. So Seth Rollins said that he meant what he said about Cody. He meant it from the bottom of his heart. But Cody is a virus. And that sometimes you have to make unpopular decisions, like getting rid of the virus that is Cody Rhodes. Then he says Cody was becoming a danger. He was talking about competing in the Money in the Bank match with one arm. And said that in his version of WWE, it is adapt or perish. And that he takes pride in what he did to Cody. So then he says tonight he's going to move on to the Money in the Bank. And that, AJ Styles is not on his level because AJ Styles lacks killer instinct. And he might have to do to AJ what he did to Cody. And while he was cackling, AJ Styles came out of nowhere and absolutely knocked him on his ass and said, "That's for Cody," which is very interesting for, why does AJ Styles care about Cody? Outside of them both being from Georgia, why does he care about Cody? Later, AJ Styles cuts a promo saying that the Money in the Bank has eluded him his entire career, and he wants to win it just to spite Seth Rollins, and that he was right. He's not on Seth Rollins' level because Seth Rollins is beneath him, and he's going to make Seth Rollins think twice before questioning his killer instinct. Seth Rollins got another promo and said that he's in AJ Styles' head and that he's going to dedicate his victory tonight to Cody. So AJ Styles and Seth Rollins went out there and had an absolute banger of a match. It was very good. And Seth Rollins wins clean via a counter roll-up. This was Seth Rollins, the dorks told me, the nerds. They told me that this is the first singles match Seth Rollins has won since February. And I did not recognize that, and I don't think anybody did. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying. If people are really interested in your character and in what you're doing, you can go long stretches of time without winning. Seth Rollins hasn't diminished at all. People are still into his matches. They still cheer for him. And he ain't won a match in 4 fucking months. That's crazy. That's nutty. That's insane. He ain't won a match in 4 months. And he's still the most over heel on the roster. That says a lot, man. That's the one positive thing about WWE booking, man. Sometimes guys get over in spite of that shit. Of course, that only incentivizes them to do it more. So Seth Rollins is now in the Money in the Bank and AJ Styles isn't. I hate that. I don't want to live in that universe. That sucks. But I'm sure AJ Styles will have something to do on that show. Hopefully he has something to do on this show. I would hate for AJ not to win, not to be on this show somewhere. But Seth Rollins, is he the front runner to win the Money in the Bank for the guys? If you think the posters are any indication, which they're not, you would think so. Because him and Becky are on the cover of the poster. I still don't think that. I think it would be lazy to put them two as the winners of the Money in the Bank. I think that's absolutely lazy. I would not do it personally. Personally, I would not do that. But I don't know what's in Vince McMahon's head and what's rumbling around in there. What's the plan then? Is the plan to have Seth steal the belt from Roman and have Cody and Seth at WrestleMania again after you had the Hell in a Cell match, but this time you elevated with the title on the line? That's actually not a bad idea. Because it'd be so much time in between their last match and this match that it would actually be interesting. I'm guessing Cody's going to win the Rumble. That's what I'm guessing. So I don't know, but I personally wouldn't go the Seth Rollins route. I don't know who I'll even go with on the men's side, but I probably wouldn't go with Seth Rollins because he doesn't need it. His legacy is pretty much set. He doesn't need the Money in the Bank, which is why I'm surprised he was even put in it. I thought that was weird. Anyway, Dana Brooke defended the 24/7 title against Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch didn't care about the 24/7 title. Just ambushed Dana Brooke, beat her up, stomped her out, threw her outside the ring. Said that she got a lot of rage bent up inside of her, and that it's not about the 24/7 title. It's not about championships at all. It's about the disrespect that she's been shown since she forged this greatness. And now she says she's thinking the last time she was in a Money in the Bank match, she was robbed. But now it's her time. And then the fans were chanting for Becky here. So Wichita is also one of those towns that is very much behind. And you're supposed to be booing Becky, but she's talented and she had gotten over so big that people really have, some towns are just not going to go play along. So Asuka came out there and her and Becky Lynch fought. And it's set for next week that Becky Lynch and Asuka will fight in a qualifying match for the Money in the Bank. And I'm guessing Becky Lynch is going to win that match, because what else is she going to do on this show? Will wrestle for the 24/7 title again? So then it's like, what is Asuka going to do on this show? Because there's not a lot of women's spots on this pay-per-view. Ought to be interesting. Ought to be interesting, but I can definitely see Becky Lynch being put in that match. And Asuka having to sit this one out. Despite the fact that it's in her hometown, American hometown of Las Vegas. All right, third match on the show. Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan defeat Doudrop and Nikki Ash to become Money in the Bank qualifiers. Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan teased being in a tag team last week. Alexa Bliss even mentioned being in a tag team on Twitter or something like that. And I can't think of two more perfect people to be in a tag team. I literally pitched this idea myself. So this is great. Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss as a tag team. They both will be in the Money in the Bank match. Neither one of them. If of the two, I could see them giving it to Liv Morgan. I think it would not be a bad idea to give it to Liv Morgan. I know there's probably going to be some people who say, Mongo, you hate Liv Morgan. I'm like, yeah, but you have to continue her push. If you're going to continue her push, you have to do something. You have to give people something. And that's the thing about being a babyface, especially an underdog babyface, is that people have to have hope. Liv Morgan has been the underdog babyface where she has been given almost no hope. Her only hope within the last year of actually attaining anything was when she beat Rhea Ripley on Raw. That was pretty much it. She has been beaten in every title situation that she's been put in. Nothing is going to bury her more. So either she needs to win the tag team titles with Alexa Bliss, or she needs to win the Money in the Bank. But Liv Morgan needs to win something in order to justify the push that she's had over the last year. And if I care about anything, I care about story. Me not liking Liv Morgan is secondary to the concept that she needs to be capped off somewhere, so that we can see that her progression is finally reaping some type of reward. That's the point of giving people pushes, not just to be doing shit, but to validate them in the future. And Liv Morgan is about time for that, because right now there's two open championships. She's not going to win the singles title. I would give her the Money in the Bank and then she would lose, because she would challenge straight up and just lose. Or you can do the slick thing where you can have Liv Morgan pin Rhea Ripley to win the title and continue their feud. I know that's not thrilling. That's like the Cody and Seth Rollins thing is not thrilling, to just use the Money in the Bank, not to make a future star in the women's division, but to rehash an old feud. In the men's division, it would be to rehash an old feud and to make somebody who's already made, But if you're going to take Liv Morgan seriously as a babyface, and WWE seems to want to do that, then she needs something. Either she needs to win the tag team titles, or she needs to win the Money in the Bank. One or the other. Personally, the tag team titles is probably more feasible and probably make more sense. But winning a singles championship, I think, would probably be a nicer little cap on her underdog story. That's just me. Ezekiel defeated Kevin Owens by count out. This match was a thing. Uh, it was a match with no stipulations. Nothing was on the line. You know, should have made this a Money in the Bank qualifier. Anyway, and this really pisses me off too, is when guys know what the finish of the match is. Like Kevin Owens, you were told Bubba Ray Owens, Bam Bam Owens, Bully Ray Owens, when you were told by your producers and the agents and everything that you were going to lose this match by count out, you probably shouldn't take a Death Valley driver on the steps. It's a waste of that spot. Okay? It's stupid. Maybe not do that. Okay? Maybe you save that for SummerSlam. Maybe you save that for WrestleMania or a big match where there's actually going to be a decisive winner and loser. Maybe we don't do that in throwaway matches on Raw because, you know, you could really get hurt. You know, you could herniate a disc. You could slip something. You know, you're definitely going to feel it in the morning in a match that ended by count out. It's stupid. All right. But it ain't my body, so I don't care. Afterwards, Zeke speaks. He says that he got to speak to the Zeke freaks. He's really getting the most out of this. And saying that he wants in the Money in the Bank. And that he talked to Elias. And Elias was so fired up about Money in the Bank that he's coming to Raw next week. And they announced an Elias concert for Raw next week. And I'm saying to myself, they're about to pull a Mick Foley. He's going to be on a screen. It's going to be Elias on a screen. No doubt. Singing and doing all this stuff. He is not going to be live in the building. Because there's no way he can grow a gnarly beard in 1 week. But if they get a look-alike, like I they've been talking about this. I don't know. I swear I can't remember who said it, but somebody planted that seed in my head that Aaron Stevens was going to come in and be Elias. And now it seems like how perfect is it that Aaron Stevens says that he's retired from NWA, and the very next week Elias is coming back to SmackDown. Come back to Raw. I'm like, come on, man. Why would you plant that shit in my brain? And now I'm like the Alex Jones, you know, conspiracy theorist who truly believes that shit. Like, I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe it. It sounds ludicrous. They don't even look alike. He just has a beard. You know, physically, he's not big enough to be Elias. He's older than Elias. He doesn't sound like Elias. But something tells me that they're going to try to pull that shit off. And people are going to buy into it. Something tells me that they're going to do a look-alike or something like that in order to try to get Kevin Owens off the scent. I don't know how you end this storyline, though. Like, as entertained as people are by this storyline, and there's a lot of people who are entertained by it, how do you end this? What is the end point? You know? Is the end point Kevin Owens just saying, fuck it, I don't care anymore? Because then we wasted weeks and weeks and weeks of TV about something that he didn't care about in the end. I don't know. All right, MVP defeated Cedric Alexander. Fuck Cedric Alexander, I guess. Seemed like a good match for Cedric Alexander to win, but he didn't win. MVP is now focused on Omos, putting Omos in Money in the Bank. Said that Cedric Alexander's desperation was annoying and that he got on his last nerve. And I'm like, wow. I'm guessing they're going to continue the Cedric Alexander floating around MVP and Omos storyline. And maybe he's going to be the reason Omos doesn't get into the Money in the Bank. But he's lost to Omos and MVP now. I have a hard time seeing how they're going to do anything remotely interesting with Cedric Alexander. It's very, very, very unfortunate. But them's the breaks, kid. Them's the breaks. Bianca Belair came out there. She cut a promo saying that she's prepared for anything and that she stays ready so she don't have to get ready. And then she says that she and Rhea are on this kind of on the same wavelength as being the next generation of women's wrestlers. I'm pretty sure I made that video. She then said that as she was doing great things at WrestleMania, you know, Rhea was also doing great things. But since she joined the Judgment Day, Rhea's been soulless. But she is the EST of WWE and she will not be intimidated. So then Rhea called for her on the Trine. said that Bianca Belair was all talk and that the Judgment Day speaks through their actions. And she doesn't talk about being intimidating. She just is. Then Damian Priest and Finn Balor both talked. Balor said that they're tired of being told what to do, and that's why they booted out Edge. And then Priest said Edge had the right idea, but he positioned himself as the leader, then told us to stop doing as we're told. So I was like, huh. And he said, well, Edge sealed his own fate, and now we're all equals. I was like, you're dead. You don't even know it. You're dead. It's like Fist of the North Star. You're dead, and you don't even know it. When everybody's equals, you're dead. Dead. I have never seen a stable work anywhere where everybody's an equal. It's dead. Not even the Horsemen. The Ric Flair was the front man of the Horsemen. He might not have been the boss, but he was the front man. You need to have a front man. You need to have a voice. You need to have somebody who is going to set the standard, the look, the attitude, everything. They're still going off of Edge's aesthetic in the Judgment Day, which is very weird. Like, I thought they were going to come out to something different, but they're still doing the Edge aesthetic, and I'm not really a fan. But when they said that they're all equals, I was like, oh no, you need an alpha. You need somebody to set the standard. You need somebody to be the top guy, the representative, the voice. Damn it. I'm not even saying that Damian Priest is wrong. Like, the logic is solid, Hey, don't listen to people. Do your own thing. Wait a minute. Don't beat me up. Like, wait a minute. Do you want me to do something or do you not want me to do it? I thought, and that they would go with Edge being sort of the weak link due to Rhea and Priest having to save him in that 6-man tag. They actually basically just attacked Edge's philosophy by saying, look, we're just doing what you told us to do, which is not taking orders from anybody and doing our own thing. So it went back to Rhea Ripley, who was standing in the middle, and she said that last week she got her teeth knocked out, but she loved it, and she was wearing braces. She was wearing like Invisalign, and you could see how it was like. She almost had the Nakamura thing, like when he talks with his mouthpiece in. It was almost like that, where she was over enunciating a little bit so that she wouldn't slur. Okay, and she basically just put Bianca Belair on notice, and I like this. I like this. To be my criticism of Judgment Day aside, I like this because it seems like Bianca Belair is now deeply concerned about Rhea Ripley. It seems like Rhea Ripley has taken the next step, and now she's serious, and now she's not fucking around, and now she might actually hurt you and enjoy it. And it seems more like it within her wheelhouse than it should be. I did see that Rhea Ripley got into a spat with some musician about her look. It just seems real petty to me and stupid. So I didn't pay too much attention to it. And plus, she's kind of looked the same for like 2 years now or something like that. So I don't know what's going on with that. I just felt bad for the Judgment Day because this is all they did. This is all they did all night. They were promoting this on Raw. They were promoting this in the Raw commercials. They were promoting this before the show. What is the Judgment Day going to do now? It was like nothing. They're not going to do anything. They're going to push Rhea Ripley to intimidate Bianca Belair, and that's it. I like this because it doesn't do what I was talking about earlier, though. So much as Rhea is not fighting Bianca. They're not throwing fisticuffs at each other. They're setting the stage, Bianca is, hey, she was right there. We were side by side, and then Rhea went left. She started doing sort of her own thing, but I'm still doing me. I'm still the EST, yada, yada, yada. I haven't changed. Rhea did. And Rhea is saying, yeah, I've changed for the better because now I don't care about those things anymore. I'm now more focused. So that was good. And they're not just throwing fight hands at each other. They're actually setting the stage for what their match is going to be. I still think Rhea needs to win the match. I don't think Bianca needs to beat Rhea Ripley. I personally think that they might end this match with some chicanery. And this is where I think the women's Money in the Bank, if Liv Morgan especially, were to win. They put her in a triple threat match or something, and she steals the title and gets out of there. And now we have Rhea chasing Liv. It's probably not the smartest thing to do. I think if you really want to put Rhea over as the top star or as the threat in the women's division, you have her beat Bianca. You know, Bianca is strong enough that she could take a loss. You know, it's not that big of a deal. You know, she's lost the title before in more embarrassing fashion, but it is a difference, and you do have to do it a certain way. You can't just have Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair go in there and they have a match and Rhea wins. That will do harm to Bianca. You know, there's a reason why you needed a taser to beat Bill Goldberg. You know, there's a reason why you have to cheat in order to beat, you know, John Cena. It got to the point with John Cena where he would do straight jobs and they wouldn't even look right. They look weird. Like when he lost to I'm about to call him Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam. It was so weird. Like he got hit with a regular move and was beat. And I was like, what the fuck? Why does this feel odd? Like, this feels odd. Like, you know, Cena's, you know, you can run him over with a steamroller and he'll still be okay. You can throw him off the Sears Tower and he'll still be all right. And that's kind of how they've been building up Bianca, where, you know, even though that 26 seconds, which I think was important for her career, is to show that she wasn't completely invincible. Because it's hard for people to get sympathy for somebody who they think is invincible or somebody who they think will never lose, especially when they've beaten people bigger and stronger than they are, which is like we talking about John Cena. You know, once he's beaten like Umaga and the Great Khali and all these guys and people of similar size like Batista and Lashley, it's hard for people to buy that he did a straight job for a 5'8", 178-pound guy like Bryan Danielson. It's not logical. They won't buy it, you know, but the magic is in getting people to believe that. And the magic is also in getting the belt off of these juggernauts without killing them. Like, you put the belt on Bianca Belair, you basically set the standard that if she's in the ring in a fair match with anybody, she's going to win. Which means Rhea Ripley cannot win this match clean. She needs to win it in order to validate her heel turn. Again, validating your heel turn. But she can't win it clean. You know, so she can't just go in there and overpower Bianca Belair, even though it would make her look strong. And it would, you know, but that's not the goal here. The goal is to put the title on Rhea, get the title off Bianca without killing Bianca. All right, that's the point. Because you want Bianca to chase. You want her to be one of the people that's chasing. One of the people chasing. Hopefully not the only one chasing, but one of the people chasing. So they definitely need to switch the belt. They definitely need to do that. But they definitely need to do it in a way where Bianca isn't left in the dust. You know, that's just not a smart thing to do when you've been building up a babyface to be as strong as she is. So they definitely need to put the belt on Rhea. It's time, dog. And don't do no silly bullshit like, you know, the Money in the Bank shit and Liv Morgan steals the win or Alexa Bliss or somebody. Fucking Becky Lynch, for Christ's sake. If it was Becky Lynch, she gets in there and she steals the title, I'd probably throw everything out the window, including myself. But I don't know how I got on that subject when I was talking about the Judgment Day. Anyway, Judgment Day didn't do anything on this fucking show. Incredibly frustrating. You know, we could definitely do better than that. All right, the closing segment, which was the pose down between Theory and Bobby Lashley. Oh yeah, I forgot. Chad Gable defeated Mustafa Ali. Okay, Mustafa Ali is still eating shit for all his comments that he made and saying that he wanted to quit and everything. Now they're just gonna put their boot on his neck. You know, his boot. They're gonna put their boot on his neck for a little while. You know, him losing the U.S. title feud and then not having a plan B. Now he's just out there losing clean matches to Chad Gable. Well, I don't think it was clean. I think Otis helped a little bit. But he's all out of sorts. He was already back on main event. I'm not the hugest fan of Mustafa Ali, but I know when a guy's eating shit, and he's eating shit right now. They're punishing him right now. And tough. Tough. I don't know what else to say. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Anyway, Rey Mysterio lost to Veer in the cervical clutch. This match couldn't have been more boring. Everything about Veer is super fucking boring. I've been trying to give it time and give it an opportunity, but this was absolute hooey. This was shit. This was not good. Rey should be doing something a lot more meaningful than this. We should be talking about putting Rey in the Money in the Bank or something like that, and now we're just using him to put over Veer. Who the fuck cares about Veer? It's been, 2 months? He hasn't done anything. He's generic as shit. It's not good. It's not good. It's not working out, man. Am I ready to pull the plug on him? No. I just think that he needs to change his character. This sucks. What he's doing sucks. People want to believe in, I don't understand why you would position Rey Mysterio like this. Dominic, sure. He's up and coming. He can, but Rey? This is stupid. You're short on baby faces, and Rey is, a guy everybody knows. He should be the guy you should be pushing, especially since he's doing the stem cells to get back in ring shape. You shouldn't be burying Rey. You should be trying to find ways to push Rey. You should be using Rey to plug holes rather than do fucking jobs to Veer. He could have beat fucking Veer as far as I know. I don't give a fuck. Who cares? Really, if Veer would have lost, who would have cried? Nobody. Who would have cared? Nobody. Nobody would have gave a shit. Nobody gave a shit that he won. Nobody gave a shit that he lost. There was no stakes on the line. There's nothing to be gained or lost in the last 2 matches. Who cares? And this is the third hour. Third hour of Raw, where all of a sudden stipulations and shit like that just went out the window. Nothing mattered anymore. And now we get to the pose down. Lashley and Theory at the pose down. Theory actually comes in with a headset, like he's about to be talking the whole time, and he just basically talks shit. How it's his pose down, and it was his challenge, and Adam Pearce basically took over and said, "Hey, look, you get in there, or I'm going to disqualify you." So they did the pose down. The WWE Universe picked the winner, which was Lashley, of course. Since when is somebody honestly going to say that the heel won the pose down? Austin Theory is indeed jacked, and he's a well-built kid. But again, Bobby Lashley wrestling for the United States title. I don't understand how we got here. He's supposed to be wrestling for the world title. Don't they understand the truth about the almighty Bobby Lashley? The guy who did the United States title, he did the WWE Championship, he did the Faustian bargain with The Miz, he did the WrestleMania 37, he did the WrestleMania 38, he did the Hurt Business, he did the arm wrestling with Braun Strowman, he did the destruction of Braun Strowman, sent Braun Strowman packing, he retired Braun Strowman, he has been the almighty, and he will be setting YouTube records with this pose down challenge. They don't understand. This is the almighty Bobby Lashley. Let's fucking go. He should be WWE champion. He should be wrestling Roman Reigns. Let's fucking go. Shouldn't be doing this stuff with Theory. Getting sprayed in the face with baby oil. They know what they're doing here. He getting drop kicked by a dude who just had his first kiss like 3 weeks ago. Come on, he was in prom when Lashley was jacked in 2007. Theory was a kid. It's weird. Lashley should be where Riddle is, and Riddle should be where Lashley is. Switch them. This is why you know that, Vince is getting touched in his old age. Quite a few people got kind of tight-assed about the whole pose down closing the show. And you know what? I get it, but I knew what they were trying to do. They was just saying, hey, look, This is just a little segment, as we go near off the air. We put all the important stuff on early for the people who might be watching the game or whatever. And they basically just sacrificed the third hour like a gangrene arm and cut it off. But the fact of the matter is, I have no problem with them bringing back the WBF, the World Bodybuilding Federation. I mean, bring it back. I'm not even a bodybuilding guy like that. I'm fronting, actually. I'm fronting like a motherfucker. I don't care about that shit. But bodybuilding and that's just kind of stuff that's gone hand to hand. Like, we can go down the list of former bodybuilders who got into wrestling, and the pose down is like a recurring WWE thing. They do pose downs every couple of years, The most famous pose down, of course, being Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior from, I think it was the Royal Rumble 89. Neither one of them was in the Royal Rumble that year either, I don't believe. I think it's just all they did was a pose down. And I'm sure people was like, oh my God, how could you do this? This is stupid. Like, nah, this shit was fun. The Steiner Triple H pose down, I remember that being fun. Sometimes the pose down could be fun. This one was kind of too straightforward. It wasn't enough, back and forth. It felt like it was crunched for time, and they just said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and knock this out. Instead of, playing it for time. And Lashley keeps getting put in these situations where he's doing arm wrestling. He's doing pose downs. How many pose downs has Lashley done? It's like his 9th pose down. His most famous pose down is the one where he bent over and smacked his ass. That was not a good one. That was not a good one. That one was kind of embarrassing. But he always doing pose downs, and I still would feel somewhat proud if I was Lashley in theory, because even though you're not closing the show with a match, you're closing the show with an angle, and I just wish the angle would have been stronger. The baby oil in the eyes and the drop kick, it just wasn't a strong enough angle to close the show. You needed something bigger and better than this. Much bigger and better than this in order to justify the pose down being in the closing spot. Otherwise, we're just saying, okay, this is the dead end. We know that everybody who wants to watch the game are watching the game, and this is just the residuals for the people who are silly enough to still be watching Raw and think that something was going to happen. And that's the real problem here. That's the real crime. Not that they put the pose down on last, is that they put the pose down on last and didn't reward people for staying to watch it. It would have been a great opportunity to do something different and to give people a real surprise. But the baby oil in the eyes, they did that at Royal Rumble 89 already. So, I don't know, man. It wasn't good. But maybe we'll say Big Bad Bob for Lashley and Reigns at another event. I don't see the point of this, though. If we're going to get Riddle ready for Cena, which Theory ready for Cena, which Theory doesn't even know what's happening yet, even though I think he probably knows. He's just not going to talk about it. Which is interesting because there was a little, I think he might have did a talk with Ryan Satin, if I remember correctly. And Theory was saying that he told Vince, he didn't go to college. He did this straight out of high school because he said, like, going to college, you can do that anytime. And he worked in a warehouse, 12-hour shifts, and was getting to the gym to get better. And because there was no plan B. It's either this or nothing. And I was like, I can see how if you are a young man and you go to Vince with that, look, this is all I ever wanted to do. Fuck college. Fuck everything else. I'm serious about this. I'm hitting the gym. He eats the shit when he kind of fucks up a little bit on the internet by, playing too much, making too many jokes or whatever. So you send him down to NXT where he does dumb quarterback shit for a couple of months. And he comes back and he doesn't complain. He doesn't, bitch and moan about it. He comes back having shown that he can do his character stuff. And you give him a push. It doesn't, completely go to his head. People are starting to really get behind the gimmick and the character. It started out silly with that big golden egg. And people thought, oh, Theory is getting buried because he's being yelled at by Vince every week. It's like, maybe not. I still don't like the idea of him beating Lashley, though, because he would have to beat him, wouldn't he? You're not going to put the fucking U.S. belt on Lashley, are you? That wouldn't make any fucking sense. So this booking decision got me confused. Because I'm saying, okay, Lashley wants to win the U.S. title, which makes no fucking sense. He should be wanting to be the world champion. That's already odd. Lashley shouldn't be losing to Theory. He's one of the hotter baby faces on the roster. He should be wrestling Roman. And he's a legit threat to Roman. Why they are scared to give Bob the big matches, I don't understand that. Like, that's just so weird. Like, it took for them to basically be forced to have him wrestle Brock Lesnar. And now we have to jump through all these hoops for him to wrestle Roman Reigns. Like, what the fuck? Just put him in the fucking ring. You know, like, I don't get this. I mean, what's up with that? You know, really, what's up with that? Like, why do guys like Drew McIntyre and Lashley, what did it take for them to get matches that they should already get? They should already have. It's like, you put them in the fucking position to wrestle these fucking guys. Let them do it. Why you want to hold off and keep, derailing them with bullshit feuds that nobody cares about, and you know the guy's going to fucking win? Look, but this, of course, shouldn't have closed the show. We know that. And we know why it did. I already talked about it. The NBA Finals are on. Raw knows that the third hour is going to take a dump. So they just said, you know what? We're going to put the main event on at 10 o'clock, which was AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. I think it was 9:30, actually. Because they know they're about to take an absolute bath as so far as the game goes on. You know, and it's on cable too, so they're not going to finish number one on cable. So they kind of figured, fuck it, we're going to put the pose down as the main event, as the main segment. Just as a way of, we got to not send people home happy, but we got to do something at 11 o'clock. Sure. Overall, though, this show definitely needed some spice. It is not interesting right now. Ross it's okay, but it's not good. And yes, it's obvious that they put a lot of emphasis on Cody, because when you start building a show around a person and then that person is gone, the show suffers. And that's clearly been happening on Raw. Just like it clearly happened on SmackDown when they removed Roman. Got to stop doing that. You got to build up a lot of different players. Like, you do have to have a main character in your story, but you have to also have a lot of strong secondary characters too. When the main character goes down, he falls apart. And then that's actually, to use a pretty good analogy here, it's like Dragon Ball. Like, there's parts of Dragon Ball, and probably the longest stretches of Dragon Ball, where Goku was separated from the main cast. Like the Frieza saga, for most of that saga, you get a lot of character development on Gohan and Krillin and Bulma and Vegeta and Frieza and the Ginyu Force. And Goku is not there at all. He's not even involved in that shit. Because when Goku shows up, he pretty much sets everything down. He beats the Ginyu Force, and then they have to write him out again so that he could, so Frieza can be developed. And then when he comes back, he beats Frieza. But, so you have to write him out of the story. He did it again. The Android saga, they had him have a heart condition. So for most of the Android saga, Goku is not there. So then you get Trunks and Piccolo and Tien, and all these guys get to grow and do more and do different things because the main character is not there. You write them out on purpose. And if you're going to be in a business where a guy like Brock or a guy like Roman is going to be on a part-time basis, you do need a guy like Cody to be there. You need a guy like Seth Rollins who could pick up the slack. The problem is they lean so heavily on Roman or Cody. And it ain't been that long for Cody, so I can tell you how bad Raw has been. But they lean so heavily on Roman that they basically had him beat everybody. And then they fired a bunch of people. And now there's nobody there. Like, there's no secondary person on. Well, then Big E got hurt, so that was pretty much, one of their secondary guys, and he got hurt. and Cody got hurt. And so you're kind of like, oh, and Brock's not going to be there. And Drew McIntyre has been de-emphasized. He's been de-emphasized as much as Lashley has. And so now you're scrambling to make new guys. You know, you got Gunther, you got Theory, you know, so they're trying, but it's not, their booking is not helping. And the tag team division is whack. The women's divisions are, well, the Raw women's division is okay. The SmackDown women's division is led by Ronda Rousey, who is god fucking awful. I love Shotzi. And she definitely has star potential. If they get her the fuck back baby face and let her do her, she's going to be fine. I'm really struggling to see how anybody else is going to break the mold. It's like WWE has suffered so much talent loss through injury and suspensions and shit like that, that is really making it seem like the roster is thinner than it really is. You know, like the roster is artificially thin. It's because they signed part-time contracts with certain people, and, you know, people got suspended and people got hurt. It's like if they were at full strength, these shows would be so much better, because then they would actually write about the people that people care about in ways that they care about them, you know, but they don't, because they don't care about most of these tertiary characters. They don't care about, like, why don't you care about AJ Styles or Finn Balor more? Why not, if you're going to write Edge off, why not lean into the guys that you replaced him with? They should have cut a promo in the middle of the ring, you know, started a feud, something that they, you know, I know that Rhea's in a feud, but Priest and Balor needs to be in a feud. You know, they need to be doing stuff, you know, elevate them, because, you know, Edge can't be there every week. That's to be the point of part-timers, to come in and work with people who are going to be elevated. You know, I don't get it. It just seems weird to me. And this is kind of what Raw has turned into, and SmackDown too. But look, I mean, we all know this, because this has been the same shit for like the last 10 to 15 years of WWE. You know, they've gotten away with it to a degree with, you know, having Brock be the champion and disappear for months on end. They've gotten away with it, but they can't really get away with it now. Now they're in a tough spot, you know, especially on Raw. So we'll see how they do when the NBA Finals is over. What they decide to do in terms of making this fucking show mean something. Because it seemed like their big summer feud that they was planning to do has been busted up, because it probably involved Cody. So maybe the next big summer feud is probably going to be Randy and Roman, which is what I'm guessing it's going to be. And I'm guessing Randy Orton this Friday is going to make his big return. And probably after Riddle loses. And that's what's going to be our feud going towards SummerSlam. It's going to be Randy and Roman. Even though it should probably be Lashley and Roman. But what do I know? But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.